Hi YouTube, it's Atheist Brit here. I'm doing a response to StealthBadger's tag video about stereotypes. So in this video I'm going to talk about 3 stereotypes. That's the rules of the tag. One stereotype has to be one that we believe to be true, one has to be one that we believe to be false, and the third one has to be one that we think applies to us. So here goes. I'm going to stick with British stereotypes because most of the videos I've seen so far have dealt with American stereotypes, so I thought it might be interesting to do something a little different from what's already been done. So, a stereotype that's true. Well, I certainly think that the stereotype about British people, that we are quite repressed and don't really talk about our feelings, is mostly true. It doesn't actually apply to me personally. I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve really and talk about things quite openly, but generally as a nation things aren't really talked about in terms of emotion or any kind of depth or anything like that. I've noticed as a nation we're quite quick to distance ourselves from that sort of thing. If we have a conversation that gets a little bit too deep, unless you're drunk. If you're drunk anything goes, but you know, if it gets a little deep or involved or emotional, or things like certain taboos, like sex, for example, we don't talk about very easily unless it's with your friends and you're talking about it as a joke, that sort of thing. It doesn't tend to be something that's talked about seriously without adolescent sniggering and you know, sort of girly laughter. It tends to be something that's dealt with on a practical basis or on a silly basis rather than as a sort of a deep emotional kind of basis. That's a stereotype that's definitely true. We don't tend to wear our hearts on our sleeves as a nation, although that stereotype doesn't apply to me personally. A stereotype that I think is false is one about English soccer hooligans. There definitely are some, and they are pretty nasty. But the perception, I think, especially around Europe, is that every single English soccer fan, particularly English, will be a hooligan of some kind. It will cause a riot, will cause trouble during European Cups, World Cups, any international football tournament of any kind. That, yeah, okay, undoubtedly every year that there is one of these tournaments on, the Brits do tend to be the ones that cause more trouble than most. But that's still a tiny minority of the fans that actually show up. If you take the number of fans as a whole and then take the number that are actually hooligans, it's tiny, and they just give the rest of us a bad name. And in fact that extends not just to soccer hooligans, but it extends to holiday makers. Generally speaking, the 18 to 35 club tend to go to places like Ibiza and Ayia Napa and places like that, and the residents of these places tend to only see that kind of British tourist that goes out, gets completely blind drunk and does all sorts of horrendous stuff, and you know, causes a huge amount of trouble, and that's all they see, and therefore they think that's what all British people are like when they go on holiday, and that's just not true. So I think that's a small minority that are spoiling it for the rest of us in that sense. And a stereotype that applies to me, well, I already did touch on this briefly in another video when I asked, does a cup of tea solve everything? I do drink an awful lot of tea. The stereotype I find from Americans is that, it's almost a jokey stereotype, I don't think most people take it seriously, is that we all drink tea, live in castles, and go for lunch with the Queen. And I don't think they truly believe the last 2 of those 3, but it is quite funny anyway, nonetheless. I find that one quite amusing. So I definitely fulfil the first of those 3. Unfortunately, I don't live in a castle. I wish I did. I never have lived in a castle. I've never even really lived that near to a castle, so shame about that one. I wish that one was true, but I do drink obscene amounts of tea. So chin chin, bottoms up and all that. That's my Stereotypes tag video. I hope you enjoyed it, and cheers.